It is Friday, August 25th. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the IT Hour. I'm Becky Scott, one of your hosts. We've got Urvashi and returning guests, Tom and Chase. Friendly faces. They are back. Everyone.
Hey, friends. Happy Friday.
Yeah. What is this? Is this the last Friday in the month? Yes,
It is.
It is. Woo! Where did August go? I don't know where it
I
went.
don't know, but I don't think I'll miss it too much. It's been awfully hot in Washington, and I spent some of that time in Northern California, where we are well over the 100-degree mark in above the mercury, and that gets to be a lot. It was 109 one day in Sacramento, which is where my parents live, and that is something like 42 Celsius for our European and non-U.S. friends, and that's too hot. That is too many degrees. We need fewer degrees, and now we are headed towards my favorite season, which has fewer degrees. Autumn is kind of where I'm at. So
yeah, and I do believe people are celebrating pumpkin spice coming out, which means fall is on its way.
Yes.
So I'm not a huge pumpkin spice latte fan, but I will take pumpkin pie and turkey and dressing and all those fun things as the holidays start to come. So yeah, cooler weather, leaves falling. Yes, I'm all about that.
We are just getting out of the monsoon and into summer light, which is the brief moment before winter, which is summer lightest.
Yeah. I think North Carolina still has what we affectionately call Hell's Front Porch before we drop into official fall. So, we'll get a false fall. It'll be really nice. And then it'll get hot again. And then we'll ease into a very brief fall. So Jeff woke up to a thunderstorm this morning. So at least maybe that cools things off, even though it will get sticky. Chase is in a vest. Is it a little cool in Colorado right now, Chase?
It is. We have our first taste of a false fall, as you call it. So it is not 90 degrees outside. So I'm excited to wear pants. I don't know how to put that more bluntly, but it's been so hot. So it's nice. Come into it. Casserole season's upon us. Boot season. All the things.
Mm-hmm. Well, considering I can tell you're in the office, I'm really glad you're wearing pants. I'm sure everyone else is too.
It's true. And we actually have quite a number of folks here in Jump Claudia in Denver today, which is always fun to see.
Great. Awesome. Well, as you all know, we have our usual schedule. We're going to talk a little bit about community and meetups, then product news, which is why Tom is here. And then Chase is going to talk about Q3 roadmap and all that exciting stuff. And I see Keith has preemptively said hello to Chase and also to apologize that apparently we're never quite satisfied. I read that in the green room and then started kind of quoting When the Doves Cry because Prince, all that. So we
goes
will
with the
jump.
purple hair.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, I saw that the Prince Estate is getting ready to release a huge volume of previously unreleased music, like 45 or 47 tracks.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, be watching for that. I think in next month or October, from what I saw in the news the other day. So something to look forward to. All right, so let's go. In community news, I just saw that Jay Pitson had posted something about an error with an API call in Python and is putting in a cry for help. So go take a look at that and see if someone can help. And Kiwi64 was talking about accessing radius reply attributes via Python SDK and was struggling there and asking for help. And best practices. Oh, look, it was a post from Tom saying it's never been easier to sign up for Apple Business Manager. So cool.
Indeed. And I'd love to talk a little bit about these changes because they're fascinating. If you've never used Apple Business Manager before, if your organization is thinking about getting into Apple products, the best way to set up Apple products with Jump Cloud, for example, is through Apple Business Manager, where you can buy machines directly from Apple or buy machines through your reseller partners who are supporting the Apple Business Manager program. It's really straightforward now to sign up for a brand new account and then verify your business as a secondary step so that you can do those device management tasks. It used to be a lot more black box, a lot more feedback light on all of those things. Apple's made some major changes here, and I'm really excited to see those changes come to fruition. This post is the first part of that. I actually went ahead and registered a DCLLC for a project I'm working on so that I can do the second part. I'm waiting for the city to complete my registration so that I can actually do that. I spent 99 of my hard-earned dollars on this project. So that I could register a new LLC just to complete this process. So
That's
I'm looking
dedication.
forward to sharing the second half of these, these processes a little bit later as we go through that process. So as soon as the city approves my LLC, I will go ahead and complete the verification so that we can go through that process.
Wow. That's real dedication. Spent his own money on that. So can't wait to see more, Tom. I put the link to that in the chat, so go read that. Oh, and if you recall, last Friday we had a couple of guests talking about generative AI, and I put this in the Slack IT Hour channel, but I thought some of y'all might be interested that Joe Wilk and some of his colleagues had a paper accepted in the CPA journal on generative AI. And I thought that was cool because I know quite a few people had been interested in all of the talk about large language models and generative AI. And so I thought you would just be interested in seeing his post on LinkedIn about that and maybe congratulate him because I think that's pretty cool that they had a paper accepted. So go check that out as well. And a little bit of news in meetups. We are moving that to mostly online for the time being and moving to a more of a quarterly schedule. Just making some changes. It's a lot harder to get people out and about in person, and we realize that things have changed post-pandemic. So to make it easier for people to attend when it's convenient for them and not have to travel, we're going to move those to online. We are going to shift the hosting of those to mostly on the community, posting notices about those there. And we will kind of roll them into the IT hour, kind of under that umbrella. And so we'll have more to come over the next month or so as we get that situated. But we wanted to give y'all a heads up about that. And we are probably going to rename it a little bit, kind of something along the IT hour, but we haven't exactly come up with that yet. We've got some ideas. We'll probably throw them out to some of you and see what you think, but stay tuned for more on that. And we're going to move on to product releases and talk about background assist, which I'm handing it over to you, Tom.
I'm pretty excited about this one. So I want to share a little bit about this. I'm going to share a little bit of some screens here, and give me just one quick second. I am going to pull open a Chrome window, and we're going to take a look. And I've already spoiled it, but I'm going to start back on a device. Now you can see that we're in early access on background access, which is the name of the new part of Remote Assist that's intended for a couple of key features that are going to allow you to do more with remote access for Junk Cloud. And one of the really exciting parts about this is that we're going to, remote access is a feature that you are participating with your user directly. They are in immediate need of support. They need to let you into their device, make a couple of changes, do some work, and then send them on their way. That's not enough for remote access. However, admins need other tools. And so if we think about what Remote Assist allows you to do, which is an attended session or a background session or a session with permissions, background access is a little bit more like a remote command line. And so here, when we click the background access button, what we get is a terminal session on the device. And so here you can see that I have a root terminal session, and I can do things like type uptime. Hey, great, the user's been up for 11 hours and 39 minutes. Load averages look pretty reasonable, nothing too scary there. I can take a look at disk usage, so that I can say, what's the disk usage for this folder? And it's going to scroll forever. In addition, the command line keys for interrupting individual commands is certainly allowed. You can use Command X, Command C to stop an existing process. Or I can do, and let's go see if we can find out what the status of the file system is on this particular drive. Well, let's take a look. Disk util APFS list will let me know what the hard drive is doing at this point. So here's my unit. It's a 1 terabyte unit. You can see that capacity in use is 35 gigs of in use. So there's plenty of free disk space here. So that's clearly not the problem, whatever it is. I can see that, my disk is encrypted. I can see when it took its last snapshot. I can take a look at recovery to make sure the recovery mode is still present. I can take a look at some of the system data. This is spectacular. And you can actually go through and, tab complete, which is probably my favorite part of this. For those of you who use terminal all the time, your muscle memory teaches you that you can start typing a command or start typing a path and then hit tab, and it will complete that path for you. So I started typing, cd/users and hit tab, and then started typing Sam's username and hit tab, and it does the complete for me directly right in there, which is spectacular. And so I can take a look at, what's in Sam's, directory. I can say, oh, hey, there's a trash folder here. Did Sam put some stuff in the trash? Did he call me because he threw away his JC agent log that was on his desktop? And so then I can say, all right, I'm going to move that JC agent log back to the desktop folder for him. Oh, right. I'm sorry. I can't use my tilde at that point, but I can use my tab complete again. And, sorry. I need to type the .log suffix. This is what happens when I do live command line, folks. I mean, live command line is always very exciting. But, you get a really functional space here, but it's not just enough to have a live terminal. Sometimes you want to put stuff you want to send the user a file. You can say, hey, look, I'm going to upload a file directly from my device. I'm going to say, hey, cool, here is a screenshot that shows me a calculation file. I wanted Sam to get that. Well, now I put that on Sam's desktop, and we can go back to the terminal and we can look at that. We can go look at Sam's username and his desktop, and look at the files, and sure enough, there's that image from iOS 4 that we just threw on his piece, and the screenshot that we just uploaded. You'll also have the ability to go through and get files off of the device. And so if you needed, say, something from that trash folder, and say, hey, look, I really want this security agent helper ARM64 file, you can click directly in here and say, I'd like to get that file. And then you could say, I don't think Sam needs that file anymore. I'm just going to delete it. And you're going to get the opportunity to confirm that delete action. And it will successfully delete their stuff. Now, obviously, this works on Windows, and it works on Mac OS, and it works on, as we go through these kind of things, it'll work on Linux as well. We've got the ability to go through and do these kind of sessions. You're limited to about 15 minutes, so it's not something that you're intended to keep open all the time. But you can also renew an open session and go along those lines. But yeah, this isn't also where we're going to stop. What we think that there are good functionalities here for looking at process information. That we can show you the active processes on the system, so that, for example, obviously on a Mac OS system, you can just run top. And top's going to show you, what's actually out there. And so there you can see, hey, one of the CPUs is actually being used by the Jump Cloud Remote Assist tool. This has taken up some CPU process to keep the command line thread active, and it's probably passing a fair amount of data over that buffer here and go through that process. So you can do all of these things that you would normally do just from a command line, but remotely, directly through the Jump Cloud user portal. And so we're really excited to see this come to fruition. This is an early access now, and we'll be excited to bring this out as we go through the rest of Q3. We have a bunch of audit trail that's going to be associated with this before general availability, because you need to know as an admin that things that are put into this terminal are safe, and that file information can be stored in DI, so that you can know what files were put up on there and get things out into the environment. So, where we go into these environments, we get a lot of good functionality. And it's going to be really exciting for our customers to be able to do these kind of things. And so that's the quick tour of background access as it stands today. And I'm really excited that this is coming to be available here soon. So very, very cool.
Very nice. Well, I'm excited.
Thank you. And I see a question for Brandon. For Windows, is it CMD or PowerShell based? I need to get back to you on that, Brandon. I will find out and I'll let you know. I just can't recall off the top of my head. And so I'm covering for Niraj today, who is with his parents this weekend. And is having a really great weekend, which is great. And I will find out and I will get back to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom. Let's see. Nathan is saying we may not need these capabilities all that often, but when they are needed, it would be so great to have them in the quiver of tools available to us. And I don't know if when you were presenting, you could see all the other great comments of people being excited, but there were lots of excited comments. They're very happy. And Stephen would love to EA to this. So Stephen, yes, reach out and we can get you to Tom for that.
Absolutely.
James, I got an email that they were disabling background access temporarily.
Yes, we had a small issue that we needed to disable the feature for. We'll be restoring that on Monday. As you can see, the background service is functioning. Where we had a small issue with the remote access tool that needed to get resolved, that was causing us to install and reinstall the tool. And so I'm glad that that's been taken care of. We'll have the new version out early next week.
Yes, Rob. Well, don't assault Tom, but yes, reach out
Please
to
don't.
Tom. Kelly,
Also, yeah,
Josh.
tom.bridge@jumpcloud.com is a great way to get in touch.
Mhm.
And I will be able to put you in touch with Niraj, who's our product manager for this feature.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it that everybody's so excited about going EA on this. We love it when you all volunteer for stuff like that. So
Absolutely.
please.
The customer feedback is catnip to all of us during this process. It tells
Mhm.
us what worked, what did not, and what's working great. And maybe we can talk also about the roadmap in terms of where we start releasing additional features.
I will say that we've got quite a few people in the dynamic groups EA, and we put them in a Slack group. And that is actually going really well to have a private Slack group where all of the people are giving their feedback like in one space. And
And I'm very excited to announce that we will be going wide with that feature on Monday. And so we've started the rollout of that feature to, I think we're at 28% of customers today who have access to dynamic groups. And that will be going up to 100% later this week and over the weekend and into Monday. So for those of you who are interested in grouping your users by rule or your devices by attribute, we are really excited to bring that functionality out. And I know that Derek Johnson, who's the PM for that feature, has been hammering on this for quite some time. I'm really excited to get to share that with everybody because there's no limit to the power of dynamic groups.
absolutely. And we're going to be splashing that out very soon and talking more about that on socials and community and all those great places. And if you missed it, there was a previous episode last month, I think. Urvashi, can you go find that episode really quickly? Where Derek was on the IT Hour and talked about that. So if you missed it, you can go back and take a look at it. I love, hey Siri, update Tom's nickname to Santa. So
not just me, there's a huge number of people here at JumpCloud, product managers, engineering managers, engineers, quality engineers, marketing folks. It's a team effort here at JumpCloud. I am not Santa. I am just his minion out here. And you know, our teams are crushing it every day, and I'm really excited to bring more to the team.
Yeah, absolutely. Brandon is saying that dynamic groups are already saving them time in onboarding. So that is awesome. Brandon, I'm going to reach out to you and see if I can quote you on that, because I am gathering quotes about dynamic groups for the launch. So reach out if any of you want to be on record with your praise for dynamic groups. And Kelly says, oh, I know it's loads of people. You're just the delivery mechanism. So just one of Santa's elves. And with that, Chase, welcome back.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, you've got some fun things to talk about today.
I have some fun things. And so if Tom is Santa, then I will be the wish list for things that are coming down the pipe. So what I wanted to do today is essentially run through our Q3 roadmap. There's going to be a lot of like on-running themes that you've seen from previous quarters. This is like the director's cut. This is a little bit more casual version. So if you attended live either Tuesday with more of our customers, or Thursday for more of our dedicated partner session. It'll be similar slides kind of run through, but I wanted to give a little bit more background context, other things that, and kind of how this ties into, broader stuff and fun that we're having. So let me, right. Looks like that works. And then let me see if I can pull, all right, just for funsies, I need to have some things off to the side. Okay, cool. Split screen. For those that don't use Magnet on a map, it is lovely, because then if you don't have multiple screens, you can then shmish-mash while we're going through. All right, perfect. Well, so let's go ahead and get started. Quick disclaimer, obviously legal's involved, but usually, like I said, software is like life, things change, but that's why we're here every week. Reach out to Tom, the PM team, everything. So if there's any confusion, thoughts on what we're working on, feedback, just please reach out. And then some of the themes that we'll be covering. So we usually like to start with our open cloud directory and then move into device management, the workflow, the identity authentication, and then all the platform enhancements here. And so I'll be covering both kind of at large, as well as our multi-tenant portal and some of the elements there. So we typically like to start off with the screen and kind of making sure that we have the encapsulation of the way that we think about Open Directory, right? And making sure that we are able to hook into all the different systems that you have today, but then also in the future. So having that organizational flexibility is really important for us, which is kind of why we always start here and kind of harp on having those elements that no matter where the origins of an identity comes from, we're able to manage it, provision it, secure it, get that identity into other stuff, making sure that you can access all those different things, regardless of what device or where your resources are, right? We want to make sure that that's as frictionless as possible. So in order to do that and continue that mission, we've been investing more and more into all those different areas where identities tend to start, right? Whether it's in other HRS systems, Paylocity, kind of other areas like that. And then we'll also have Ceridian and Dayforce coming down. So those will be new areas that you can get those pieces into JUMP Cloud. Another element of this is you say, hey, you already have a cloud directory. Why are you spending time working with the on-prem stuff? Well, some of us are not so fortunate, right? And there are a lot of organizations there that are still operating within an on-premise Active Directory environment. And sometimes that comes through mergers and acquisitions. Sometimes it's, especially for our partners, they might be bringing on a new client and they're looking for those different optionalities. And so what we want to do is, again, remove as much friction as possible to making sure that we can work with all those different identities. So now we're rolling out multi-domain support. So making sure that you're able to have multiple different DCs kind of talking to JUMP Cloud, but then we're going a step further and say, hey, if you actually don't want that and it's more of a member server, because there are some organizations that either are against policy or whatever that might be, they want to adopt JUMP Cloud, but this is a much safer kind of mechanism for them to get started and allow us to kind of start to manage and update some of those identities. So that's kind of a lot of the reasons why you see that happening and kind of fits into our Open Directory concept, making sure it's as frictionless as possible. Now for the fun stuff. This is one of the favorite features that I have coming out in talking about JUMP Cloud Go, as well as sign in with JUMP Cloud. So JUMP Cloud Go is essentially a new way for us to have this, amazing certificate back, super awesome thing. It's living on the device that will actually authenticate you and be able to carry through that session. So that way, from an end user perspective, you're able to hit log in with JUMP Cloud Go, and it gets you there. It's that simple. Like the demo is like 2 seconds, right? But it is such a lifesaver going through all these things. And we've been having what we call kind of internal dog food here at JUMP Cloud for a little bit, and it's already amazing. So it's one of those features that I can't wait to get out into your fingertips, and especially the users, and just kind of have that amazing experience, as well as sign in with JUMP Cloud. And so this is when you're able to leverage, another cloud identity to kind of go into that. And so just to quickly segue, we'll talk about Open Directory Federation. And this is other IDPs that you're able to sign in and kind of have those credentials. Again, we want to make sure that no matter where you're coming from, we're able to provide that frictionless access. So we're starting with Okta, and then we'll have multiple other IDPs coming through. So if you're kind of within that mix, making sure that we can have that there. So that's a little bit about identity, kind of core directory, kind of how we're thinking about authentication. Next couple slides I'm going to run through relatively quickly because we already got a little bit of sneak preview here. So for Windows MDM, we released Windows MDM, and the next element for us is actually providing that certificate renewal. And so that's kind of one of those baseline areas for kind of having a larger path for all the extended roadmap feature functionality that we want to have in terms of our Windows MDM. And so think about this as a good baseline, and we're going to have a lot more fun here coming in the next couple quarters. Android EMM, we're really excited the way that this is progressing. I've actually been fairly impressed kind of all my tenure here in JumCloud to see how quickly we kind of went from zero to everything with a brand new OS here. And so we're actually running through kind of all these different modes. So it's just quick visual. We kind of started out on the left, and then we ran all the way to the right in terms of a fully managed, kind of making sure that you can have those, I'd say, devices out in the wild, right? And so these are a lot more different areas. If you think about manufacturing scenarios, kind of other labs, like all those different pieces where you might have these dedicated devices for the businesses, we're able to fully manage, which is really exciting. And as they get updated, we will be there right with you. And so there's a ton of work that Tom and team are putting around kind of our day zero support for Android 14, macOS 14, as well as iOS 17. So kind of making sure that all of those, it's soft landing, right? And that's kind of what we look to provide across all of our device management, looking around all those things. Background access. These pictures don't do justice the way that Tom just went through. So I'm actually going to skip here, but this is one of the really exciting features that we're able to talk about, as well as dynamic groups. And so, as mentioned, this is coming out Monday. Like, this is really great to see kind of how you're able to automate a lot of those features. And again, kind of pulling in different attributes from different areas across your stack, and have that, once you're in JumCloud, start to operate and making sure that the onboarding and offboarding scenarios and all those different areas are that much more seamless. Platform enhancements. So a couple other, I'd say, quality life, other areas that we've been spending the time on, especially around password manager. So now have cloud backup as well. So that is now GA, as well as a softer landing for kind of how you think about entitlement groups and kind of using groups, users that are coming in and out of leveraging the password manager, and then better shared folder creation. It's a lot more visibility. And so it's all those elements that we're starting to stack up in our password manager experience that, again, feature requests, people reaching out. This is kind of why we love, as Tom says, it's catnip to us in terms of understanding kind of what works and what doesn't, because that truly guides kind of our next stack of things, all that we want to do, and prioritize that and making sure that we're able to deliver it there. And then as well as JumCloud Protect. So screen lock notifications, this is great, right? In terms of if you're logging in, I don't have it today, but I'd say, hey, on your Apple Watch, right? And see, Tom could do it. So what that does is actually just brings that notification onto your watch. You can look at it. Face ID is already there. And so you're authenticating, but the way that you're doing that is so much more seamless. So that's really exciting that this is now GA. We're able to bring that to you. So real quickly, I just have a couple more slides. So I'll cover a little bit more on the multi-tenant portal. So this might not affect everyone, but it's also just want to provide visibility into, for those that don't operate, we have a multi-tenant experience, which is great if for multiple M&A activity, if you're running on partners, different clients, setting up DC LLCs like Thomas, like all the different areas that you might want to have into. So a couple pieces that we just want to reiterate is we recently came out with running commands. And so it used to be that you'd have to kind of hop into each individual area and kind of go from there. So now you're able to run that a little bit more ad hoc. And again, I guess I'll step back a little bit. One of the larger roadmap strategies that we've had for multi-tenant portal is there's so much happening within individual organizations. There's so many rich features and information and data that we want to then elevate into that larger experience. So that way you're able to operate faster. And so this is one of those areas that you're able to do it, billing, visibility, and making sure that you're able to have those contracts. And then next up, this is actually one of the features that, as long as I've been working with our partners at JumCloud, this has been a requested feature. So this is the most excited feature that I have coming out of the way, is the ability to kind of clone an organization. So this is really helpful. Again, if you want to think about bringing on new organizations, but they look like this law firm, they look like this haircutting salon, they look like, A, B, or C, whatever that might be, you're able to replicate a lot of those features and a lot of those different types of settings within those orgs. And it helps with that. Again, no proprietary information, user, like all that stays within its own org, but we are pulling in a lot of the feature settings that allow you to make that so much faster. as well as certificate and token expiration. So again, making sure that visibility comes up into the multi-tenant, as well as support, making sure that you're able to interact with our teams, not having to hop into individual clients, kind of manage triage, and we can see who you are and you can access right there. Next up on platform security. And so we've actually spent a ton of time as an organization through this last couple quarter, kind of really looking at what's the next level of baseline for security, scalability, kind of all these different elements that we need to continue to grow. And we found, right, there's a lot of folks that operate a little bit more headlessly within Jump Cloud. And so we spend a lot of time looking at how we can make the API keys that operate and do all that a little bit more seamless, a little bit more secure. So we're adding in much more visibility and logging around that, as well as kind of, we're not enabling it as a default, right? And so we will making sure that only that API key visibility is for the right people, as well as kind of making sure that they're step up security as well, right? And we want to enable admin MFA. I know everyone here already has it, but if you are a new organization coming into Jump Cloud and experiencing, we want to make sure that you're starting from a great security baseline out of the get-go. So that's kind of a lot of the I'd say quality of life security improvements and kind of enhancements that we've seen across the platform, especially over the last couple of months. And then this will continue to run forever and ever, right? This is one of those pieces that we will always continue to invest in. But here's where we're starting, kind of at the API level right now as a focus, and then we'll start to have much more across the platform as you see moving forward. Finally, not product related, but because you're special and I wanted to invite you, we are actually running a series of fireside chats where you get to meet with our executive leadership team. And so this is something that we do basically kind of once a year, but it's a great opportunity to have a more intimate discussion like this, kind of hop off mute, share your thoughts, ideas. And it's not just about the product, right? It's about kind of business at whole, but then also that whole landscape and kind of what we're seeing across IT, MSPs, security, kind of macro landscape. And so it's a great discussion to kind of have a little bit more understanding of kind of how we think about the business, where it's rolling, and then ultimately kind of what that translates into our future vision, right? And so we typically share our, hey, what's coming kind of over the next quarter. And so this is a great opportunity to say, hey, of all of 2024 and beyond, like kind of how are we orienting ourselves? Where are we investing? What are the types of things that we're thinking about? And so we'll basically reach out with a hands up and we'll kind of have that. We'll send out the link to making sure that you have that and we can get registered. And I think that's it. That's all the slides that I have. So that was a quick whirlwind tour. If you'd like the extended version, I believe that the recording from the webinar this week, it should be up on the YouTube land, so we can share that as well. But that is inside of what's happening. So then I will hop over into seeing all of your faces and chats and pieces.
Yeah, Stephen is asking any way we are going to get user attributes in device dynamic groups.
Not in Q3, but I can certainly say that, as we expand more along the lines of the user to device reflectivity, or the pass through of user information into device policy, we're certainly open to any feedback that folks have. Please reach out. I definitely want to hear more about use cases and what you're after to make sure that we probably want to handle this correctly for you. One of the things that's been top of mind for me is configuring mobile devices, especially on the iOS side of the house, where we want to reflect user information in some of those policies so that you can say, hey, I want to automatically put their Google account on their device. I know Ryan Bacon would love that. For us, Ryan's our IT director. He would love to be able to automatically configure those kind of things. On iOS, we don't have that ability today. We're working on it. I want to make sure that our use cases are clear for that. But look for more on that front from us as we go into 2024.
Okay. And we've got, what about software distribution for XC, MSI package, and DMG with the catalog like Monkey? It's a huge pain point for us.
Happy to talk a little bit about, the ability to upload software directly to Jump Cloud and to be able to hold on to that. We'll be talking more about that as we go into Q4 of this year, starting with MSI installers and Apple PKG installers. As we move beyond that, we want to be able to essentially offer you the ability to say, hey, I want, Firefox on all of my machines, and I want you to keep it up to date. We're going to have a lot more to say on that as we go through the rest of this year and early parts of next. So if there are apps that you are distributing that you want to make sure can be part of that catalog, I'm happy to hear your feedback. Drop me an email, tom.bridge@jumpcloud.com, with your list of apps that are crucial to your business that you want to make sure are kept up to date. We've been doing a lot of data spelunking in terms of our internal access to data to figure out what we think the top apps are. But we're always happy to talk with folks about what they're using to power their business, because that's incredibly important to us as product managers, so that we can understand what your execution use cases are.
And I know we answered this in the chat, but just so it's on audio for people who watch later on YouTube, Keith asked, JumpCloud Go is expected to release in Q3? And that is a yes.
Yes, and I will say, like, the first iteration, right, of Go and kind of other pieces, but that login experience, kind of where you will multi-factor in, kind of and it hits on the device and kind of saves that, and it kind of allows you to have that, right? And it's not saying, hey, it's all there, right? We're actually running multiple sessions under the hood. It's just like the user, you don't have to log in every single time. And so it's a great piece of that. So yes, you'll see that here shortly.
Awesome. And Rob is saying he'd like the option to push software from JumpCloud, but have it download the package from a specific URL. Good for limited connectivity locations that have software repositories on site.
Rob, I'd love to talk to you more about your use case. So please reach out. And we can talk a little bit about more how to approach that, because most of what we've been targeting right now are online installers, not necessarily local installer URLs.
And Keith wants to know if JumpCloud Go is reliant on turning certificates on for the tenant.
No.
Very succinct answer there.
That was such a satisfied no.
Yeah.
No,
you don't need that. And Nathan is asking, with enhancements to software deployment, will there be reporting or alerting capabilities for devices where updates have failed to install?
Obviously, we want to make sure that it's not just the act of sending the install command is the terminal option here. It's doing the install, ratifying the install, and making sure that you've installed what you intended to install. So as we've taken into account all of these things, we are working hard to make sure that the statuses of these installs are correct and in the environment. Some of the challenges that we face on the Apple platform, for example, are due to the way in which Apple installs package files using mobile device managers. That interaction right now is I have accepted the command that says install this thing, and then I'm going to download the thing, and then I'm going to try and install it. We are putting a lot more checks in place on how we evaluate the individual packages that you're going to upload to JumpCloud for this purpose, so that we can ratify that those installers are correctly formed. And so that's a big part of the effort that's gone into this, to make sure that we have the package in the correct format.
Awesome. I love how you put that. All the extra checks. And Keith wants to know, what question do you think he's not asking around certificates in JumpCloud Go?
I think it's important to recognize that JumpCloud Go is the connection of a managed user on a managed device, which means we are managing the user's state on the device, which means we understand who the user is. And we are ratifying that this is a JumpCloud managed device at the same time. Inside of those environments, when we think about how we do that, what we are going to do is create a hardware certificate, which is to say a certificate pair, a public key and a private key, that are created inside the secure enclave of an Apple device or inside the TPM module of a Windows device that supports a TPM module. And that's how we are going about making sure that these certificates are secure, and that these environment and these keys that are derived from that process are correct and established. That means that you have an identity that is phishing proofed, hardware bound, and secure for your environment. Not to mention stupid fast. We are seeing a savings of time, and which is a savings of contextual awareness of minutes in most cases. How many times do I go to log into JumpCloud and be like, oh crap, I left my phone downstairs. So I get up from my desk and I go downstairs to get my second factor, and I come back up, and on the way I stop and check the mail and maybe pick up a Diet Coke to make it through the next meeting. And by the time I'm back, it's 5 minutes later, and I can't remember why I was logging in the first place. Executing with Jump Cloud Go means that it's less than 10 seconds almost every time. And 3 seconds of that is the splash screen where we're showing you what's happening.
It is so stupid fast from a user standpoint because I go to log into something and here it comes. Oh, I got to put in my email address and go to the next screen. And then I got to type in my password. And then I've got to wait for the push. And then I've got to go accept the push. Here, I click log in with Jump Cloud Go. The little screen comes up. The fingerprint, because I'm on a Mac, the fingerprint pops up. I put my finger on it. Boom. It's done.
Yes.
I used to dread when I'm going to get logged out and have to log back in. Now it's like just boom, done. Look.
The other thing that I want to make sure that folks are aware of around Jump Cloud Go is that we took security of this factor very, very seriously as part of the process. One of the things that, generally speaking, you might have to ask, how often do I need my Jump Cloud Go, a credential? And the answer is about, how often do I need to fully log in not using my Jump Cloud Go credential? And the answer is about once every 90 days. We're going to make you go through a full login cycle to make sure that you're, up to date, not up too late. The other thing that we will reset your Jump Cloud Go token for is if you ever need to reset your password. And so resetting your password will cause a full login cycle to happen on the next environment. And then you're off to the races again. So this is a spectacular experience for everybody. And we are really excited about bringing this to bear across all of the Jump Cloud login technologies that we have. So this is just the beginning for Jump Cloud Go. And
it also makes you do like the full login again if you actively log out, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
If you do a full log out on your work device, you will have to do the next login cycle and do it entirely. We will destroy your token at that point. But if you're just continuing on like you normally do, because how often do you really go in and say, yes, I wish to log out of the user portal? That hardly ever happens.
Yeah. Did I think I saw something earlier where people asked if we were doing an EA on this yet? Did you?
We are not doing an EA on this yet. More soon.
There you go. All right. This is so exciting. Seriously, we're using it internally and we are very excited about it. We just started doing it recently and we're drinking our own champagne and testing it out internally to make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to do. And I don't know about everybody else in the company, but I know that I'm enjoying it so far. I think I just set it up at the beginning of the week and flying through it and going, oh, thank goodness, because I just hate having to log in every single time. And I think most users do.
Most of my meetings with Becky have at least one instance of like, it logged me out again.
Yes. Typical end user, right? Let's see here. So Anu says, I have had a few cases where some application updates were not pushed for Windows devices via Chocolatey. Version numbers are behind. How are those rectified?
I would really encourage you to talk with support. There are a couple of things that could be happening here, and support can help you unpack all of those and get all of the right details. I don't want to speak off the cuff on this one. So I would strongly encourage you to reach out to our support teams who can fill in that gap for you.
Perfect. And what about the ability to deploy any Windows CSP policies and Apple payloads we'd like?
So as far as I am aware, you may deploy any Apple payload that is in the MDM specification today. And for places where we don't have an existing policy, you are free to use the custom MDM configuration policy, and you are welcome to deploy any uploaded configuration file. iMazing is a great tool for building these kind of profiles. There are a whole bunch of things that you can do along those lines. Please feel free. If you don't see a policy that you want, please feel free to reach out, tom.bridge@jumpcloud.com. Those are, I've been running down a lot of those for the last 18 months. And you'll see that we've almost tripled the number of policies that are available for Apple devices over the last 18 months. So including adding 3 more that to support macOS 14 and iOS 17 that have launched this week. On the additional side, on the Windows CSP policies front, we will have a custom CSP policy available to you in Q4. That's going to allow you to pick an OMA, URI, an Open Mobile Alliance URI, and essentially target a specific piece of the registry. for Windows. And then we will undergo a period probably over the next 12 to 18 months, again, to provide new options for CSP policies to kind of go with our existing GPO policies. And so you'll have a migration path whereby essentially you can align a new set of policies for your CSP using devices, or where you want to lock features down entirely and prevent the user from changing any things. So look for more information as we sail into this exact IT hour piece in Q4. So.
That's great. Lots of great questions. This is wonderful. All right, we're going to jump into the news and we'll jump back if any other questions come up. But speaking of iOS 17, I'm stupidly excited about something silly. In iOS 17, you can turn some of your photos into message stickers. So you know how in iOS 16 you can isolate the subject of a picture. You just hold down and it'll pop your subject out, and you can copy it to the clipboard and use it elsewhere, shared in apps. Well, in iOS 17, you can now export those photo subjects as stickers that you can use in messages. And I don't know why I'm excited about this. It just sounds like fun to be able to pop out pictures of my cats or my kids and turn them into stickers. And even better, if it's a live photo, you can save it and it'll make it animated. So you can turn it into like a little mini GIF or GIF, depending on how you like to pronounce it. I know no arguments here on the pronunciation. You can pronounce it however you want. So you can add effects to make your stickers look more like real stickers, including outlines, comic-like shading, puffy 3D look, shiny holographic finish. It just sounds like fun. So something fun and light on a.
I was going to say, here is one of those stickers. I did it with Macro, who was crawling up on my chest the other day. And so I sent this to Becky just now, so you can see, here's a Macro sticker.
I was wondering why my.
There you go. That's why you're buzzing. Sorry about that, friend.
No, that's all right. I like it. Okay. And let's see, one more thing on Apple News. Believe it or not. So the Ars Technica headline was "Hell freezes over as Apple supports right to repair bill." But Engadget just said Apple backs right to repair bill in California. So Apple has officially endorsed Senator Susan Talamantes Eggman's right to repair bill in California, which is kind of a surprise because Apple has historically blocked any right to repair bills and been very staunchly against this. But they are now actually backing this bill. So what this means is they're going to support having kits out where you can repair your own devices. Tom, you're pretty heavily into Apple stuff, so I was wondering if you'd seen this and what you thought of it.
Yeah, I mean, Apple's obviously been trying to push the envelope here in terms of saying, hey, yes, we will provide you. If you want to do your own repairs, we will help you. And we will even rent you a set of tools to do this thing. The current set of tools that are doing this, it comes in like a giant Pelican case and weighs about 45 pounds to do like your own screen repair. So be aware that, this is not for the faint of heart, and it's not for the faint of back either, because they're sending you a very large set of tools, which you must return, although they do provide postage paid labels. And so, I don't think Apple has ever been against the repair process. It's not like that's a profit center for them by any stretch of the imagination. So being able to do your own repairs, it is something that Apple can enable now. We were waiting on a good set of tools. We were waiting on a good set of directions and videos. Honestly, take your stuff to Apple, get them to fix it. Then they're on the hook for the 90-day warranty around those repairs instead of you. So, I mean, honestly, this isn't a place where Apple was trying to gouge the market for repair costs. We can talk about their SSD prices on a different day, because maybe that's a little bit more profit centery than I'd like. But, certainly looking at the way in which they've approached this particular problem, they want to make sure that folks get a good experience when repairing their device. And so, you can have the right to repair those things. Absolutely. You just also have to carry with it the responsibility to do it well. And that's hard. And that's not the experience that Apple wants to drive.
Yeah, I would say it'd be a little more important for my out of warranty iPad, where my child dropped it in the kitchen on the tile floor and didn't break the screen, but it still didn't function after that. And we had to replace the screen and then it worked. But personally, I could, figure out and go and repair stuff, but do I want to? Not really. I don't want to take the time to do it, and probably most people don't, unless you're already big into, replacing your own battery in your laptop or your phone or stuff like that. But most of us, we don't have the time. I mean, I don't really want to. Kelly says this is the third year that rumor's going around. Oh, regarding iPhone 15 models. Yeah, I did see when I was going through the headlines, Jacob, I did see that iPhone 15 models might be moving to USB-C. I also saw in that unfortunately the data transfer rates are not going to go any higher than US like 2.0. So you won't get any faster transfer rates, even though they are moving to C. So there's not going to be a lot of, advantage to that, except that it's going to be, a long way. It'll now match the iPad and all of that. So you'll have the same charger for all your devices. All right, so back to headlines. Google Workspace is getting ready to require 2 admins to sign off on critical changes. This is over on Bleeping Computer. A couple of days ago, Google announced new cybersecurity defense controls that will allow security teams to hopefully thwart social engineering attacks like phishing or targeting workspace users and prevent account takeover attempts. So among these new capabilities is the ability to add an additional layer of protection that requires sensitive GW actions to be signed off by 2 admins. So after multi-party approval is enabled and configured on a workspace, admins must have at least one other admin to confirm critical changes. I think this is a pretty good idea, make sure that you've got like a sensitive action, like a 2SV settings change. Another admin has to approve it before it goes into effect so that you don't have someone taking advantage of someone's compromised credentials. I'm just looking through chat here and see what else we have going on because they're scrolling by really fast all of a sudden.
Mostly about how fixing it yourself is a pain.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, true on that. True on that. So I like the idea on the Google thing. And then, if you use Cisco VPN, you should listen quickly to this. The Akira ransomware is targeting Cisco VPNs to breach organizations. Now, the first thing you should know that they don't mention right away in this article is this is if you don't have MFA enabled on your Cisco VPN. So if you use Cisco VPN, make sure you have MFA enabled. There's mounting evidence that Akira ransomware targets Cisco VPN products as an attack vector to breach corporate networks, steal, and eventually encrypt data. It's a relatively new ransomware operation launched in March, and they're using compromised accounts to breach corporate networks without needing to drop additional backdoors or set up persistence mechanisms. Sophos first announced this abuse of accounts in May when researchers stated that the ransomware gang breached a network using VPN access using single factor authentication. So basically enable MFA. It will help reduce this because that was how they were getting in. So you don't need to panic necessarily if you're using Cisco. Just make sure that you have MFA enabled, which you should. But just in case you haven't, that's a good sign to make sure you're doing that. Nathan, regarding the Google admin service accounts, says, I will create a secondary Google admin service account that I also manage. I think that kind of defeats the purpose, Nathan, but I know you're being funny. All right. Back to, got one more news thing, and we've got about 6 more minutes. TechCrunch says that there's a new EU law that lets social media users quiet quit the algorithm. And I don't know how I missed this before, but heck yes, I'm gonna start doing this. There's the ability on like Facebook and Instagram because of the Digital Services Act in the EU. On Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, you can decline personalized content feeds based on relevance and switch to just a regular news feed that's populated with posts from your friends displayed in chronological order. So instead of using the tracking where they use the algorithm to predict what you're going to want and just kind of toss all kinds of things at you, you can go back to just looking at what your chronological news feed looks like. It doesn't show any of the suggested for you posts at all. And Meta and a lot of them have actually gone ahead and rolled this out globally, not just in the EU. So you can actually go look at this now. And I went immediately to Facebook and looked for the news feed because remember they used to have this a long time ago and then started
like 2010s all over again. That's great.
yeah, but you know what, I am sick of my feed being like all groups and I can't find my friends anymore. So they have separate feeds where you can go friends, you can go groups, and I was like, oh my gosh, friends I haven't seen in ages, there they are. I've been wondering what happened to them. So yeah, it's actually kind of nice to be able to go back to 2010 and see what my friends are up to since I haven't seen them in so long. They got crowded out by all this other stuff, and I would see some of them once in a while, and you see a few friends, so you interact with them, so then they show up more, and the friends you don't interact with because you don't see them don't show up. So it's just kind of a nice throwback, but I like the quiet quit the algorithm headline there. So if you are on some of those social networks, you can go check that out if you're interested. It's kind of nice to go back to finding out what people are doing instead of, the algorithm telling you what you need to know. I'm all for it. The most recent section on Facebook, Brandon, it is in most recent order. Like it's just a chronological thing, and you can scroll through and see what people have been doing. Rob says, do they work with credit info? If so, leverage very outdated PCI compliance to enforce stupidly complex password policies for non-MFA enabled accounts. They turn faster than an underpaid CIA agent. I suppose, Rob, they work with credit info if you use any sort of payment on there, like through Facebook Pay, like if you use Facebook Pay through Messenger, but otherwise I don't know. I guess if you use Ad Manager, but that has to be through the business page, but that's completely different. That is all I have. Anybody do anything fun this weekend?
Well, it's back to Scouts weekend here in Washington, so I will be grilling for our Scout troop on Saturday. And then I am driving with a friend of mine to see the Harrisburg Senators, the Washington Nationals AA baseball team, on Saturday evening. Dylan Cruz is the Washington Nationals lead prospect, having been drafted second off of a College World Series winning career at LSU. And he has been apparently making those AAA or those AA pitchers look silly and hitting the ball real hard. And so I look forward to driving up. Charlie and I and my friend Hal, we're going to go up and see Dylan Cruz hit the ball real hard. And that's going to be super fun. It's bucket hat night. So we're going to get a bucket hat. We're going to sit in the nice fancy seats and have a great time at the ballpark. So that's what I'm up to this weekend. It's super fun.
That's how all sports seem to me. It's like chase the ball, throw the ball, hit the ball. Like, glad you're having fun.
Sports ball.
I was just reminiscing with someone earlier this week about baseball and the Padres, because I used to live in San Diego, and when they were still at Qualcomm Stadium and when they were a good team, and when I got to go to a playoffs game and then the World Series when they were in the World Series. That was late 90s, by the way, so long time ago, but how much fun it was. So I kind of miss that. There's no, well, I mean, there's the Durham Bulls, but I still have yet to go to a game. It's just not quite the same as, going to like the Padres and stuff, but not to diss the Bulls in any way. I just haven't made time to go to it. It's a great little stadium and everything. It's just, I remember the first time I went to a pro game ever in my life, and it was just like, wow, this is so cool. So yeah. What about you, Chase? Anything?
No, I wish I was a much more interesting individual, but I'm sure there's things to do that I have not even discovered yet that will suck up time and coming through. So
Yeah.
managing tiny humans, make sure that they come around. But I will say, when I lived in North Carolina, we did go to the Durham Bulls a couple times, and like Burt's Bees was a really big sponsor, which was hilarious to see in the background, and beer.
Yeah,
it's
they're
fun. It's just a different environment because it's so much more casual. So
yeah, they're still here. They still have a little tiny Burt's Bees little cabin right there at American Tobacco across the street. So, well, we are at time. I know Tom had to drop, and so thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate your time and all your great questions. We will not be here next week, by the way, because it is a company holiday and we are all off for the long weekend in the US. So we will actually see you in 2 weeks. I didn't want to forget to tell you all that. So we will see you again see you in September. So enjoy, everyone, and see you again soon. Take care, and thanks a bunch.
perfect. Bye all.